You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Brandy Williams. And when I tell you this week is jam-packed, we are in for a week and already in a week of intense energy that is fiery and feisty with emotions potentially boiling over. So let's get into it. Right out the gate, on Monday, October 14th, the Sun in Libra squared Mars in Cancer, bringing our attention to something we don't like. This more than likely involves someone we are in relationship with, be it a colleague, family, friends, or an intimate partner. We could be experiencing growing tension, and Mars in Cancer is extremely triggered, causing matters to come to a head. So we could feel irritations rising, tension brewing in relationships and partnerships, and experiencing some indirect or passive aggressive interactions. Mars in Cancer is in a tense interaction with Chiron retrograde in Aries. So Mars is our planet of willpower and how we fight and how we stand up for ourselves and how we assert ourselves. And Chiron is the wounded healer. And the Sun is also in this conversation with Mars in Cancer. The Sun is in Libra, all at 21 degrees of their signs. So they're in this T square, which is a three-way conversation that's pretty tense, but also transformative. So this contentious three-way conversation is steadily building up to that intensity of the Aries full moon that is happening tomorrow on Thursday. And Chiron and Mars are showing us the triggers and the wounds that we have. This could be something we thought we resolved or worked through. This can also be a physical injury or accidents. So we want to be careful and just really watch out, watch what we're doing. Let's not move too fast. But on a spiritual level, Chiron is the wound that never heals. For some of us, the wound has been reawakened and exposed. But the good thing about Chiron is when the wound is exposed, so is the medicine. And this is because Chiron brings us deep into our soul wounding that ultimately brings us into our own healing. The Sun in Libra is receiving support from Jupiter, who is retrograde in the sign of Gemini right now, helping us to keep an open mind, to see the bigger picture of a situation, and to stay detached from the petty things that could be going on in our lives right now. Also on Monday, Venus in Scorpio, so Venus is our planet of love, beauty, and money, made an opposition to Uranus, who is retrograde in Taurus. Uranus is our planet of revolution, liberation, and how we bust out of the system of things, the traditional way of things. And this is reiterating the growing tension in relationships. We could be seeing where our values are different from the people we are in relationship with. One of us may want to bond and talk about our feelings and really dig deep into what's happening with the relationship, and somebody else may want to do their own thing. They just want to feel free and independent, and maybe they're not feeling that way. Or perhaps we could be on the receiving end of this. Somebody could not be feeling us. Somebody could feel confined by us and just no longer in alignment with us. And so it could be time for a revision or separation from relationships that can feel stifling or constricting in some way. This is also some type of indication that maybe things in relationships need to be spiced up, a little more adventure needs to happen, and maybe we just need some fun put back into the relationship in some kind of way, a little flirting or things of that nature. On October 15th, Venus and Scorpio will go on to trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And this is a pleasant flow of energy. It can be an acknowledgement that life is hard right now, and this may or may not be followed by a cathartic or good cry, or this can be an increased ability to extend compassion to others and to ourselves. So some of us may not feel the intensity and the tension of this week, but we see and witness other people feeling those tensions, and we're going to have an increased ability to hold space for people, to be there, to stand in the gap while people try to figure out some really big emotions this week. This Venus in Scorpio trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces is helping us to trust what we are feeling, to understand what's out of our control, and to trust that God, spirit, or the universe has a plan that we just can't see yet. And then Thursday, October 17th, we have the full moon in Aries. And this is taking place around 6:25 a.m. Central Time. So you want to go ahead and adjust for whatever time zone you are in. And let's go over some of the dynamics of this full moon. We have the sun at 24 degrees of Libra opposite the moon at 24 degrees of Aries. The moon is sitting right next to Chiron in a conjunction. So it's sitting next to Chiron retrograde at 21 degrees. It's also sitting next to goddess planet Aries at directly at 24 degrees. The full moon, being the sun and the moon, is sharing some tense conversations with Pluto in Capricorn, who is still at 29 degrees, but now is direct. And also sharing a tense conversation with Mars in Cancer, who is actually the ruler or the host of the moon being in Aries, because Mars rules the zodiac sign of Aries. So this full moon will be jam packed with several planetary influences, one being the cardinal grand cross, meaning that all four signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, have planets that are speaking to each other, maybe arguing with each other. So if you have any personal planets in those cardinal signs, you are probably feeling this very intensely. And so this full moon is bringing in a lot of energy. With the full moon being in the sign of Aries, the focus will be on ourselves, our personal identity and self awareness, our individual needs, and what we are creating or want to take to the next level. And so it's giving us the courage and drive to really put ourselves out there and move into the destiny of our future selves. And then on the other side, we have the sun in Libra, shining light on the moon, bringing up the need to come into balance with ourselves and with others, to have deep commitment and integrity to ourselves and how we interact with others, communicating with integrity, no longer sacrificing ourselves for others. And the sun in Libra is giving us clarity on who and what is not meant to go with us. Some of the people we thought of as close relationships can't join us in the next level. Some of our habits and thought patterns that we have can't be in our experience to even get us to the next level. We could be feeling overwhelmed as we witness the true colors being shown within ourselves and within others. The moon conjunct Chiron has us looking at our own wounds, asking us to heal ourselves, come into healing so that you can be the healer and the teacher, and so that you may teach healing to others. This moon is also conjunct the asteroid goddess Aries, who is the goddess of strife and discord. So, this is adding another layer to this full moon with the emphasis on our own personal strife and discord. And with the moon squaring her own host, Mars in Cancer, we could be experiencing resentments and emotional volatility. Some of us will experience or witness other people experience big reactions, aggression, anxiety. Mars and Aries brings on headaches. We could feel rage. We could be coming face to face with selfishness, adult temper tantrums, and wherever Mars and Cancer is in our birth charts. If you have your birth charts, a great time to pull it out and say, wow, what house is Cancer in? That's where Mars is right now. So wherever Mars and Cancer is in that chart is where we really want to pay close attention to the signs and the symptoms that our body is giving us. And this could pertain to many different areas of life, depending on where that house placement is. For some of us, it's finances, it's our body, it's our identity, it's our relationships, it's our psyche, it's our health and wellness, our higher education, our work life, our private life, our kids. So, all depending on where that sign of Cancer is in your birth chart, is where this big energy and action is taking place. But to avoid something boiling over, we definitely want to listen to the messages that our body is giving us, that our intuition is giving us, because the body is telling a story. But if we're too much in our heads, we can't hear the story. We can't hear the messages. And Mars in Cancer can be a trigger that is bringing up some long buried tensions to the surface. So some things have been festering and brewing We've been feeling some type of way, and we may want to pay attention to our responses to these triggers, especially this week. Mars in Cancer is holding resentment, but Mars in Cancer is hesitant to speak on something. If we think about Cancer being the crab, a crab never walks into anything head on, it moves sideways. So, Mars in Cancer is not going to directly speak on anything head on. It's going to kind of dance around. It's going to hold some resentments. It might be a little passive aggressive. And that is causing even more pent up energy to churn and boil. And before we could think twice about it, this energy will erupt into a full fledged lash out. So the Sun in Libra is bringing rationale, diplomacy, and logic, but Mars in Cancer just came off of a tight square with the Sun, still squaring the Sun by 3 degrees. So Mars in Cancer don't want to hear no logic. It's not open to a diplomatic conversation because Mars in Cancer is pissed off. Mars in Cancer is feeling real salty and he's taking something personally. So he's ready. He's kind of about that life right now. So nipping these emotions in the bud right now will be helpful to all who could be involved, not continuing to let something fester. Get it out on paper. Write it all down. Mars likes a good write down and then burn it because we're dealing with fire energy. Aries is fire, right? But burn it in a safe place. Let's try to remove ourselves from escalated situations or people that we know are going to trigger us or that seem like they're baiting us into something. Kind of like, how did I get here? We're having this conversation and then it just turned left. Yeah, let's walk away. Let's take a step back. This is a great time to go back to the gym, even if you're doing it for a week, even if you're just doing it for tomorrow. Go for a jog. Really get that energy moving so it just doesn't erupt out on you and onto somebody else because this energy is going to pass, but what we do with it could last us a lifetime. So we definitely want to be mindful of that. But direct Pluto and Capricorn is in this mix, squaring the full moon, increasing the pressure and tension, but also showing us where we've changed, showing us the environments, groups, and settings that we no longer align with, and collectively showing us the systems and structures and hierarchies of authority that we no longer align with. Some of us are climbing down and walking away from the corporate ladder and micromanagement, walking away from fanatical leaders and parties that you no longer connect to morally or ethically. Pluto is still breaking down what's out of balance and no longer serving us, also bringing up our own unhealed behaviors that we thought we healed and some psychological bruises we gained on the journey of this Pluto cycle since 2008 that we are going to need to work through. Pluto in Capricorn is asking us to own, accept, and reintegrate all parts of ourselves so that we can walk into this new life that's waiting for us when he begins his transformative cycle in Aquarius for the next 20 years. Venus in Scorpio making a sextile to Pluto and Capricorn both at 29 degrees is further intensifying our emotional world and looking at our relationships a little deeper. We are purging, packing up, and moving into something completely new in 2025. So, with this transit, we could be focused on our friendships and really seeing who's been there for us versus the friendships that kind of leave you wondering about the authenticity of the connection. We will feel and see some things that are just too blatant to be ignored, leading us to make some changes in relationships before things get worse between us and another. And finally, on October 18th, Venus goes into the sign of Sagittarius, and this can feel like the light at the end of the tunnel, where we get to let our hair down, free our minds, and let the adventures and higher mind optimism pour into our experiences. So, a quick recap from all of the information that I just went over today. This Thursday's full moon is going to be energetic and possibly combative. We will be focused on our personal development and our goals and ambitions, but may brush up against some conflict along the way. Stay open minded, stand in your integrity. Let the fight train pass through, but don't get on it. And that is all I have for this week. I do hope everyone has a safe week. Have a wonderful week. I hope that instead of it being combative, something courageous inspires you to take action on something you didn't think you would. If you would like to get to know these transits week by week a little more intimate and you want a birth chart reading, I will leave my booking information in the show notes. And I hope everyone has a great week and I'll see you next week. Bye. You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast.